Lesson Planning, ISTE Standards. In this video, you'll learn about ISTE for Student Standards and ISTE for Educator Standards.
Hey there. Now that we have looked at the lesson plan, Louisiana Tech lesson plan format, the directions, we've looked at the rubric that's associated with the full lesson plan, and we looked at learning outcomes and strategies, we are going to take a peek at standards. You will see there's an ISTE lecture right here, but I'm just going to use these two websites to go over the ISTE standards. So ISTE is a set of technology standards. It helps guide how teachers use technology in their classroom with their students, but it also helps guide how teachers use technology themselves in the classroom. So there's two sets of standards. One is ISTE standards for students. So these are standards that your students will meet in your class, and you'll have evidence from what they do in the class. The other set is ISTE for educator. Those are standards that educators should follow in the classroom when they're using technology. So ISTE for students will have proof based on what your students are doing. ISTE for teachers, educators will have proof based on what you're doing in the classroom with technology. So I'm going to do a brief overview of each of these, and you'll see right here they've now added these awesome little playlists where you can actually see some of these standards in action. But you will notice when we go over them that they are very much alike. The ISTE for student standards line up with the ISTE for educator standards. So the first one is empowered learner. Learner leverages technology to take an active role in choosing, achieving, demonstrating competency in their learning goals, and it's informed by learning science. So if you press plus, you'll see all these substandards pop down. So the main standard is number 1, empowered learner. The substandard here is 1A. Students articulate and set personal learning goals, develop strategies leveraging technology to achieve them, and reflect on the learning process itself to improve learning outcomes. So here are all different ISTE standards, and what I'm going to do is give y'all an example of one for each of these main standards. So right here, 1C, students use technology to seek feedback that informs and improves their practice and to demonstrate learning in a variety of ways. I have this in my class. I give explicit feedback on all of my assignments, but you're also welcome to turn them in 48 hours before the assignment's due for me to give full feedback and let you correct it. So you as a student are using technology to elicit that feedback and help inform and improve your practice and also demonstrate your learning. Digital citizen. Students recognize the rights and responsibilities and opportunities of living, learning, and working in an interconnected digital world, and they act and model in ways that are safe, legal, and ethical. So y'all did a little bit of digital citizenship stuff with your Google training. We're going to get into a lot more of that later on this quarter, but let's give an example here. 2B, students engage in a positive, safe, legal, and ethical behavior when using technology, including social interactions online or when using networked devices. A good example of this is y'all using Twitter. I expect you to engage in positive, safe, legal, and ethical behavior while you are using Twitter to increase your PLN and have social interactions with other people. Knowledge constructor. Students critically curate a variety of resources using digital tools to construct knowledge, produce creative artifacts, and make meaningful learning experiences for themselves and others. Let's find one we can. Okay, 3B, students evaluate the accuracy, perspective, credibility, and relevance of information, media, data, and other resources. Y'all are doing this in our PLN assignment. You are reviewing blogs, podcasts, things of that nature. So I expect y'all to evaluate what you're viewing for accuracy, perspective, and credibility and relevance, and to only post PLN activities that you think do have accuracy, perspective, credibility, and relevance. Innovative designer. Students use a variety of tech within a design process to identify and solve problems by creating new, useful, or imaginative solutions. 4D, students exhibit a tolerance for ambiguity, perseverance, and the capacity to work with open-ended problems. This is something that I am having y'all do when you go through your lesson plan, because you get to choose. It's got ambiguity. You get to choose how you're demonstrating your learning. So you get to decide how you want to integrate technology into it. You also get to demonstrate what your artifact is going to be. So I give you the open-ended problem of integrate technology in a meaningful way, and you persevere, you find the ways you think are meaningful and the way you want to demonstrate your learning. Computational thinkers. Students develop and employ strategies for understanding and solving problems in a way that leverages the power of technological methods to develop and test solutions. You're going to hear this term computational thinkers a lot. This is huge in education. We want our students to be able to take really complex problems and break them into smaller parts to work through them. Let's see. 5C, students break problems into component parts, extract key information, and develop descriptive models to understand complex systems or facilitate problem solving. So this is definitely something that you would be doing in your lesson plan. You're going to break your lesson plan down into components. You're going to take out the key information and figure out ways you can use technology to reinforce that learning. Creative communicator. Students communicate clearly and express themselves creatively for a variety of purposes using the platforms, tools, styles, formats, and digital media appropriate for their goals. 6A, students choose the appropriate platform and tools for meeting desired objectives for their creation or communication. This is definitely what you're doing with the lesson plan. You get to choose your platform and your tools where you're going to demonstrate to me how you integrated technology in a meaningful way and how you learn from the assignment. And global collaborator. Students use digital tools to broaden their perspectives and enrich their learning by collaborating with others and working effectively in teams locally and globally. Right here, 7B, and actually 7A, these are things that you're doing using Twitter. You're using digital tools to connect with learners from a variety of backgrounds and cultures. And you're also using those collaborative technologies to work with others, including your peers, me, I could be a peer, experts, or community members. So these are all things that y'all are doing when you take part in building your PLN on Twitter and doing those other PLN activities. And I'm going to go through the educator standards. I do want to say this. Because you might be using your own standards in your lesson plan, if you so desire, I highly suggest you stick with student standards because they're much easier to prove through your assessments. It's a lot harder to make the argument that you're meeting an educator standard because you're not going through a whole explanation of what you're doing in your lesson foundation necessarily. And remember, I told you that these two are connected. So you have learner here and you have empowered learner here. So educators continually improve their practice by learning from and with others and exploring proven and promising practices. So I am doing this one right here by engaging in my PLN on Twitter. I'm pursuing professional interests by creating and actively participating in local and global learning networks. Leaders, educators seek out opportunities for leadership to support student empowerment and success and improve teaching and learning. This 2C is something I do all the time. Model for colleagues' identification, exploration, eval, curation, and adoption of new digital resources and tools for learning. Especially throughout the pandemic, it's been very important for me to provide extra professional development to some of our faculty so that they can correctly use technology tools in the classroom. Citizen, educators inspire students to positively contribute to and responsibly participate in a digital world. I do this throughout my class. I try to create 3A, create experiences for learners to make positive, socially responsible contributions and exhibit empathic behavior online that builds relationships and community. So that's where I hit it big, is in the PLN for that one. Collaborators. Educators dedicate time to collaborate with colleagues and students to improve practice, discover and share resources and ideas, and problem solve. This is one of my favorite things right here. 4B, collaborate and co-learn with students to discover and use new digital resources and diagnose and troubleshoot tech issues. You're going to do a apps in education assignment where you're going to overview some apps for us and share with your classmates. And so that's where we can co-learn together and you can tell me about new digital resources. Designer. Educators design authentic learner-driven activities and environments that recognize and accommodate learners' variabilities. Let's see. 5C, I try all the time. Explore and apply instructional design principles to create innovative digital learning environments that engage and support learning. I'm using a few different tools this quarter that I haven't used in the past, at least for my classes. And so I am exploring and applying those principles that I learned in my master's about online teaching. And I am using new technology to try to make sure that I cover those. Facilitator. Educators facilitate learning with tech to support student achievement of the ISTE standards for students, which we looked at before. That's these right here. So facilitator, let's go with I try to do this in everything I do. 6D, model and nurture creativity and creative expression to communicate ideas, knowledge, or connections. I want y'all to use your creativity to make you more successful in this class. Take your knowledge you already have and build upon it and use it for other things. And I try to model and nurture that as much as possible. And of course, analyst. Educators understand and use data to drive their instruction and support student learning. Here's one right here. 7A, provide alternative ways for students to demonstrate competency and reflect on their learning using technology. I'm allowing y'all to do this in the lesson plan by letting you choose what way you want to demonstrate competency. Do you want to do a Google Slides? Do you want to create a site? Do you want to do a podcast? I try to give y'all that space so you can find the alternative ways that are best for you, used for you to demonstrate competency. And in a minute, I'll go over the Louisiana state standards. As always, let me know what questions you have.